Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we're at Road Atlanta for another track guide, this time in the Lamborghini GT3 car. This lap was done with the fixed setup and a track temp of 19 degrees. This track is really fun to drive, however it can be difficult to overtake. For those who are new here, I usually do a fast lap first, then I do the guided lap afterwards. Let's get into it. But before we start, I'd really appreciate it if you all subscribe to my channel and like the video. Thank you! For turn 1 I brake just after the tarmac on the left. You can use some of the grass on entry to help open up the corner, and I turn in just before the grass starts again. I use 4th gear and my peak brake pressure is around 50%. I trail off the brakes very quickly to keep the car stable. I trail brake to the apex and get back on throttle at the inside curb. On the exit I try to bring the car as far right as possible to set up for the next corner. Here it's very difficult to know when to turn in as the entry is blind and there aren't many references. I begin turning in when the tree in the middle of the screen lines up with the dashboard. I brake when I get to the curb on the left and use 3rd gear, and I turn in just before the end of the entry curb and use all of the inside curb to open up the next corner. Get back on throttle just after the curb, as it can unsettle the car if you're accelerating as you go over it. And for the exit I want the car to not be on the curb on the inside before I turn in, as the car will bottom out and spin. The line through this next sequence is very important for lap time. When you have cold or worn tyres you may need to lift slightly through here to keep the car from spinning. However on fresh tyres it should be flat. I turn in at the curb on the left and avoid the inside curb. You can use the curb at the bottom of the curb here if you need to. You have to be smooth with the steering here also, as two sudden movements can spin the car. For this left-hander I brake at the start of the curb on the right. My peak brake pressure is around 60%. I use the entry curb to open up the corner, and I turn in for a late apex to get a good run onto the straight. You can stay in 4th gear through here if you're struggling to keep the car stable, however I go down to 3rd for the extra rotation. I get back on throttle just before the apex and use all of the exit curb. It's bumpy on here so be careful to not lose the car on acceleration, and if the TC begins to engage, lift slightly. The track limit on the exit is the gravel on the right and then the grass here. Here I brake at the first white line to around 80% to get the car turned in, and then I trail off quickly. I use 3rd gear and apex at the latter part of the inside curb. I get back on throttle at the apex and allow the car back out to the left to prepare for the hairpin. For the hairpin I start braking when I reach the outside curb. I use 1st gear for better rotation and turn in for a late apex to get a good run onto the back straight. I trail brake to the apex and get back on throttle gradually at the end of the inside curb to avoid the TC engaging. You can use the outside curb and you get a 1x if you touch the grass. The final chicane I brake at the 100 board and use 2nd gear. My peak brake pressure is 90% and I use the curb on the entry to open up the corner. You can brake much harder than you usually would be able to here as the car is in a compression zone, which allows you to brake harder without the ABS engaging. I cut all of the first curb to start the exit before slowly coming back on throttle. For the second apex I lift slightly again, again cutting the inside curb, then opening up the steering to carry the speed onto the exit. You can use all of the exit curb without getting a 1x. The final corner is easily flat in GT3 cars. Just be careful with the steering to not lose the rear. You should also try to take a tightest line possible to gain a few hundredths. So that was a lap of Road Atlanta. If you found this guide helpful, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel. You can also now become a member if you so wish. And I'll leave you with the third person laps at the end of the video. This will be very helpful if you struggle in the S's, as the position of the car is very important through here.